The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
Hey, I'm Charlie. I really enjoy Ramsey County's Household Hazardous Waste program. They make it really accessible with their drop-off options, and they send out postcards every once in a while with helpful information. I drop off my household hazardous waste at the Bay West site. I like to let items in my home collect so I can bring a larger haul just a few times a year. I always tell people to check the website before they go. Chances are you haven't thought of all of the items that you can recycle, like batteries. When I recycle, I feel like I'm doing my part to minimize my carbon footprint, and it's easy and accessible to do so.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, designed for more than just therapists. If you're a helping professional in any way, Diversity in Clinical Practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve, and it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author and speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I'd like to share with you a few encouraging words about privilege and disparity in the WNBA. So, during my efforts to create a culturally safe learning environment, during my positive and encouraging diversity trainings and professional environments of various kinds, I not only share information about practical strategies that I believe have the potential to transform personal and professional cross-cultural relationships alike, but I also provide Ask Lambert's Anything opportunities for people to ask any question that they'd like to ask on this topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, particularly questions that have contributed to strained relationships and cause internal and interpersonal distress, and where a healthy perspective has a potential to repair and improve those relationships. Most often, the question is about a personal struggle with a workplace colleague or authority figure. Or it might be a question of how to think about the latest divisive topic being discussed far and wide. Most recently, I was asked a question that had nothing directly to do with the workplace environment where I was speaking, but the seemingly casual conversations about the topic were nonetheless negatively impacting conversations between coworkers and causing division. As a result, I was asked whether I had a healthy and encouraging perspective where there seemed to be difficulty finding one. The topic at hand were privileges and disparities in the WNBA. More specifically, though, as the new WNBA season had recently begun, many people were wrestling with what to think about the apparent unfairly excessive treatment of Women's National Basketball Association rookie Caitlin Clark, who began getting a lot of attention in college, and that attention continued through the WNBA draft and into the start of the basketball season. Not only that, but while many consider the attention deserved, many others express belief that her white race and ethnicity is the reason why she's getting that attention, despite the fact that there are many other WNBA players who had earned the right for more attention before she even got there. And this attention is not limited to social media videos, but to higher financial endorsement deals, her team having more televised games, and the league taking steps to provide charter flights for everyone only after she arrived. These unequal treatments have led to polarization between those who defend Clark and those who view her as a problem that needs to be confronted. So much so that those who believe differently are often seen as the enemy, defending injustice. So, as I said, I was asked whether I had a healthy perspective, an encouraging one, where there seemed to be difficulty finding one. And while I make intentional effort to not to try to read people's minds and declare what specific individuals are thinking and what motivated specific people's actions, I do believe that considering multiple perspectives, even while having and maintaining our own different perspectives, can contribute to healthier conversations and a healthier interaction, even if we ultimately disagree about what should be done next. So, to help contribute at least to healthier conversations among admittedly different perspectives, I like to offer the following considerations on the topic of privileges and disparities in the WNBA. Consideration number one: admittedly, it's not always about race. What do I mean? Well, the WNBA had a head start. Having begun in 1946, now has 30 teams and over 500 players, while the WNBA began 50 years later than the NBA in 1996, consisting of 12 teams with a total of 144 players. The argument that it's only about race ignores the fact that of those 144 players, over 60%, some even say a lot higher, are African American, and only 20% are white. And those 20% haven't disproportionately been given this high attention that Caitlin Clark has had for 20 plus years, just because they're white. So while Caitlin Clark is a rookie with a very high salary, it's not just high in comparison to African American players. It's high in comparison to all players, including the other white players and players from other ethnicities as well. One need also only look to the impact Caitlin Clark had on the game of basketball at the college level. In college, Caitlin wasn't highlighted on the news coverage because there was finally a unicorn of a white basketball player who was good. No, there were many others. She was highlighted because she was playing the game in an uncommon way amongst her other excellent players. Particularly, she was getting single season records for three pointers and all time records in scoring as a whole. Not only that, but she was doing so in a way that created shareable highlight reel replays, such as Steph Curry style three pointers from long distances, previously not seen in that way. As a result, more people tuned in to watch college basketball than ever before. Not because the players were finally good, they were always good, but because for whatever reason, people wanted to see these highlight reel plays in real time and join in the excitement. All that to say, to make it only about race is to do a disservice to the actual effort that she has put in and the legitimate accomplishments she has done at the college level. Sure, she hasn't yet accomplished anything at the professional level. However, based on what she legitimately accomplished at the college level, it seemed reasonable for many to hope that she could continue to do the same at the professional level, with the same game skill as well as the same level of public attention being brought to the game. And while many wait until you have proven yourself to pay you money and attention, many others pay you and show you attention based on your perceived potential. And at least in part, that's where some of the discrepancy rests. Now, all that being said, consideration number two is just because it isn't only about race doesn't mean it has nothing to do with race. What do I mean? Well, in addition to the actual game accomplishments during the game of basketball, some of the attention that was given to Caitlin Clark involved a comparison between her and other players, particularly her and now fellow rookie Angel Reese, with whom she competed on multiple occasions. During those encounters, as passionate athletes do, there was excitement and great play, as well as verbal and nonverbal trash talking and taunting. Unfortunately, when Caitlin did it, she was portrayed as a competitive athlete with almost hero status. But when Angel returned the favor, she was portrayed as a petty athlete with almost villain status. With so many factors being similar between them at the time, both accomplished athletes, both playing at the top of their game, leaders and faces of their teams, and in many ways the sport as a whole at that level, it was also very reasonable for some to conclude that the reason for their differing portrayals was their race and ethnicity. Because of this, it's not unfathomable to consider that some might view Caitlin as more favorable or marketable for endorsements than Angel Reese and for other players of color, with race being the significant factor in that decision, beyond their skills on the court, which are quite comparable, or some would say better, depending on how you view it. Conclusions about different portrayals are not necessarily because of any one particular thing that was said or done by one particular member of the media, but because it looked too similar to a long history of differing portrayals in professional and social media alike. It's like when white crime suspects are portrayed in the news as hapless victims of unexpected circumstances who need forgiveness, while crime suspects of color are portrayed as premeditated aggressive threats to society who need to be contained or exiled. And no one's even been proven in these circumstances of whether they did it or not, and yet the portrayals abound. With this long and common history so very prevalent in our society, if we listen in to how Caitlin is described in conversation in comparison to other players, we might be surprised to hear similar polarizing and divisive language on TV as well as in homes and workplaces, in defense of some and vilifying others, making race something that's legitimately considered as a factor in the discussion, not by choice or desire, but out of a protective awareness of yet another way people will use or force circumstances to justify their mistreatment of others based on race. And that leads to consideration number three. Regardless of what contributed to the disparity, we need to respond in a healthy way. What does this look like? Well, interestingly, I find that we don't need to blame Caitlin Clark herself as one individual to begin to make positive, healthy change. After all, she didn't come into the league at the professional level declaring that that the league was and is horrible, but that she is the savior, and that all the other players should be grateful that she's arrived. Quite the opposite. She has been quoted on multiple occasions giving credit to all the other players who came before her, having paved the way for her to even have a chance to play, and who have been excellent players in their own right, adding that she hopes to make her own name and do well for herself as a great professional player as well. The fact that a team has decided to pay her more than other players is not her effort to stick it to the other players. It's their effort to get the player who will, for whatever reason, provide an increase in ticket sales in that way for that team. The fact that other endorsement deals have come to her in hopes that the attention that she has will somehow spill onto them were not accepted as a way to spite others. And when the league chooses to televise her games at the higher rate than others, she's not saying that's right. You finally have something to see. Those are decisions made by others in hopes of using her to bring attention to the league, which she then has the burden of living up to. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Do other players have the right to be angry? Absolutely. After all, they have been paid an insulting fraction of what NBA players have been paid for years. They've had the vast majority of their games untelevised for years. They've had to take public transportation rather than charter flights for years, which may not seem like a lot to the rest of us non athletes, but with the demands of their schedules traveling across the country on a regular basis, as well as the safety concerns that arise when they get undesired attention from fans or people seeking to harm them. Many wonder whether financial limitations were the only thing that made the league wait this long. So when things all of a sudden change in favor of the new entry of the new clear kid on the block, then it's understandable for some people to feel a certain way about it. However, instead of bad mouthing her in the media or being excessively aggressive to her, trying to harm her during games to teach her a lesson, which may not seem like a problem in the first place for her, but is huge long term, it is also reasonable to embrace her along with all the other new players and new faces in the league and bring attention their way as a whole. And appreciate that while admittedly late, the attention that Caitlin brings to the WNBA in the form of increased televised games also increases their visibility as well, allowing them to gain attention, not from them being aggressive and humbling the new people who came to the team, but by playing a great and exciting game and showing the viewers that they had been missing out this whole time and that she isn't the only show that's in town. Beyond the reason that made them show up, they can give them a new reason to stay. Show the decision makers beyond the endorsement deals that there are more players that can make highlight reels, entertain the audience, and be the faces of the league. The NBA may have periodic faces of the league, but it also has a lot of competition, a lot of jerseys that can be bought, a lot of deserving and favorite players to go around. So can the WNBA as well. Yes, a lot of this has been unfair. And yes, things should have been different a long time ago, should be different now moving forward. But instead of blaming the chosen faces of that unfairness, we can choose to acknowledge that one person may bring people to the game, but that person can only bring certain things to the game. Acknowledge it, validate it, no more and no less. And then while we're there, learn who else is there and begin to spread that wealth around. Beyond Caitlin Clark, watch other new players like Cameron Brink, Camila Cardozo, Angel Reese, and many other players who they can be learning about while they're there. My hope for you is that something expressed here today might help equip you not to win an argument over someone else on this topic, but to help you create a healthier conversation, acknowledging various motivations and cautions and concerns that many people may have. And most importantly, pursue a world in which we are focusing less on blame and more on identifying the steps that need to be taken to reduce the uneven privileges that some have, eliminate the unnecessary disparities that exist in the WNBA and far beyond. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening in to today's Diversity Do podcast. If you have any pressing diversity-related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a positive and shame-free guest speaker on this sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at www.diversitymadesimple.com. And if you know of anyone else who can benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well. Or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
Meet TAP, the Transit Assistance Program. TAP makes transit more affordable for people with lower incomes, with rides for just $1. To apply, it's easy. First, go to metrotransit.org/TAP to fill in your info. Then snap. Take a quick pic of your ID and one other accepted document, like an EBT card. Then tap, submit your application, and after getting approved, you'll get your TAP Go-To card mailed to you in about a week. Finally, load money on your card, then hop on any bus or light rail train to get where you're going for less. Apply in a few minutes and start saving money today. Learn more at metrotransit.org/TAP.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Are you a woman known as a good listener? Do you have skills in de-escalating situations? Are you what they call a people person? Then the Minneapolis Police Department would like to meet you. Now in a rebuilding phase, the Minneapolis Police Department is recruiting more women to wear the badge. The department offers career options for women with a high school diploma or GED. There are also opportunities for women with 2- and 4-year degrees who are ready to apply their skills in new ways. Police work makes a great second career for social workers, teachers, nurses. Women in their 30s and 40s are welcome to apply. There's no age cap. You'll be paid while you train and mentored by veteran women officers invested in your success. Minneapolis also welcomes current police officers to join the state's largest department. Make a difference on the streets, working in your community, in a career with competitive salaries and generous benefits. Go to minneapolismn.gov and search police jobs to find out more.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.
All around Minnesota, you can find community vaccination events where you and your family can get the updated COVID-19 vaccine. The Minnesota Department of Health works in partnership with communities to provide safe and free on-site community 19 vaccines. These community events take place in familiar churches, community centers, clinics, and other spots that are close to home. Even if you were vaccinated in the past, you may still need the updated COVID-19 vaccine. The latest vaccine provides protection from newer variants circulating right now and continue to be very good at preventing severe illness, hospitalization, and death. To find a community vaccination event near you, call the Minnesota Department of Health COVID-19 Public Hotline. Call 1-833-431-2053 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Tuesday and Thursday between 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That number again is 1-833-431-2053.